Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of Sweet and Salty. I'm just checking that my guest tonight is with us. Are you with us, Emma?
Hello, I am. I can hear you. It's a miracle.
So, the whole point of tonight, guys, is a little bit of interaction. Get you asking either your cooking or your baking questions. If you get anything in your cupboard you don't know what to do with, anything in your fridge which has been lurking in there and you need to get rid of it, or just any general questions, we'll open the floor up and see if either one of us can help you. If not, then we'll turn it into a tweet and send it to Gordon Ramsay or Mary Berry. So I'm going to let my guest introduce herself for those of you who don't know her. So Emma, do you want to give us your CV in 18 seconds or less?
I can definitely do it in less than 18 seconds. So for those of you who haven't met me before, I'm Emma, and I run a little cafe with my colleague Ailish called Gloria and Lils in Coventry, and I am in charge of all of the baking. So apparently that makes me the person who you have to ask if you want to make something sweet. I don't promise to be any Delia Smith though, so don't ask me difficult questions.
Are you going to tell us about Gloria as well?
Oh yeah, I forgot about Gloria. Gloria is our 1969 Renault Estafette. So she's an old lady of 51, and she's kind of where it all started. So she's a food truck that does coffee and cake, and she trundles her little way around mostly to little outdoor events and stuff. So that's what I. Yeah.
Cool. So, having eaten at both these establishments, I can recommend them greatly to anybody down in the Midlands area. And I think Gloria manages to trundle a little bit further.
Not too far. She's pretty slow. Like normal vehicle speed, take about half off. It's quite slow, quite noisy.
She can get there. It just takes a while.
Yeah. If I set off now, I might make it to you by about September.
Sounds fair. We're more than happy to wait till September for cake. So I'm just checking in some of the people that are joining us. So the mother of Connells is with us. Sylvia's joined in. I'm going to just. So Angela's loving the t-shirt.
Thanks. It's a find. You know when you clear out the wardrobe and you find stuff and it's like you've been shopping. It's one of those.
It's like Christmas every day.
Oh yeah, better than Christmas because it's free.
So until people start coming with their questions, what got you started with baking, Emma? What's your life story with baking?
I think I don't know. It's hard. I think I have to blame both sets of grandmothers and my mum, because both of them always did lots of baking, and I don't know. It's just fun. I love it. I love baking. Always want something sweet. There's always a cake in the house. There always was a cake in the house, and I think that's where it came from. My grandma on my dad's side was a home economics teacher for a little while. She was a nurse for a really long time, a health visitor, but then gave all that up to become a home economics teacher. So there's some real old recipes floating about that belonged to her. That are some of them still like the most favourite things that I ever make.
Fantastic. So what are your favorite? I know I have a couple of your things that you make that are my favorite things to eat, but what are your favorite things to make?
Anything with chocolate on, because then I'm probably going to want to eat it. My least favorite things to make are things that have loads of pans and faffing. So if it can go in one bowl, that's ace. But I do quite like making caramel. it's always quite satisfying to make a good caramel and put the kind of salt and the cream in and wait for that kind of explosion at the end. That's ace. Science is amazing.
So we've got a first real question from Paul McLaren. You can ask Mike later, but Paul used to be falcon, and then like the rest of us, he got old and broken. I think he's still falconing sometimes. But his question is, what's the favourite meal and cake to make for both of you lovely people? Well, there's one lovely person. I'm just kind of on the periphery. Tolerable is probably the best I can hope for. As far as, for me, my favourite meal to cook is, I'm kind of going to give two answers to this. My favourite meal to cook is cooking for my family and cooking for my friends. I love seeing happy faces and full bellies and being challenged with something I haven't made before and try to put my own twist on it. I also love cooking Japanese food because it's a completely new spice palette and flavour palette. It's not like anything else. You probably draw a dotted line between most of the European cuisines with common ingredients. But when you start getting into Chinese and Japanese and Thai, you've got a load of new toys to play with. So that's kind of my favourite to cook from my point of view. But anything my family and my friends like to eat, I'm more than happy to make it. What about you, Emma? What's your favourite cake to make?
I think my favourite thing to make is biscuits. Something called idiot biscuits, which is really simple. We used to make them when we were little. Mum used to make them, and they're like chocolate shortbread biscuits. And it's an all-in-one bowl. You can get your hands in and make little balls, and then you press them down with a fork. And they take like 10 minutes in the oven, and they come out, and they're these really quite dark, chocolatey, amazing, crumbly biscuits. And they're just real quick, and they're ace dipped in tea. They do fall apart a bit, but that's okay because you get all the soggy bits at the bottom.
Okay, sounds nice. You make them next time we're down.
Yeah.
Or you post some up. I think FedEx are still working, so we could get some of those sent up.
We're going to do a test. Going to do a test next week of posting cakes, so we'll send some up to you, Pete. See how they arrive.
Fantastic. The next question is from DA, who is one of our biker friends with massive beard, all the beard. He wants to know how to stop his macaroon spreading. Giggly. So I'll hand that one over to you, Em.
Okay, there's macarons are those pain in the backside things to make, and they are a lot of faff. So my advice, having made them a lot of times and had limited amounts of success, is put a little bit more ground almonds in your mixture. They're probably spreading because your mixture is a little bit too runny. The other thing is making sure that syrup, the syrup that you make at the beginning, isn't actually too wet, if you see what I mean. So if you're making it by pouring hot syrup into egg white and whisking it as you go, and adding the almonds into that mixture, try just putting a little bit of extra sugar in your syrup. It'll be a little bit thicker and it runs the risk of crystallizing a bit quicker, but as long as you keep an eye on it, it'll be fine. And just add a tiny little bit of extra almonds in. If you whack, I presume you're doing the thing where you pipe them out and then drop the tray and leave them. You should leave them for ages and they should get that skin on them. If they're spreading out at that stage, then you've got too wet a mixture. If they're spreading out in the oven, then you haven't left them long enough to air out and get that skin on.
There we go. So sound macaroon advice there. Okay, I think the next one is a savoury question. So I'll try and get myself around that, and you can
don't ask me.
Go in and have a gin or something. So fried chicken. Funnily enough, I'm going to be doing a fried chicken and the cook along on Saturday, using a Thai green curry paste as a kind of ultimate dish. So you might want to tune in on that. Live cook alongs every Saturday at 12 o'clock. Basically, what you want to do, nice simple recipe for fried chicken. Get yourself some buttermilk. If you can't get buttermilk, some Greek yogurt and some milk. Mix it up till it's kind of the consistency of runny custard or double cream. Put your chicken in that, leave it overnight. That'll start to break down the chicken, make it cook a lot easier and impart a nice kind of tangy flavour to it. Make up your dust to kind of the crispiness on your fried chicken. So flour, salt, pepper, garlic, and whatever flavours you like. If you like it hot, you can either put a little bit of hot sauce in with your buttermilk or your yogurt mix, or you can put some chili, cayenne, sriracha pepper in your dry dust. But whatever flavours you want in there. I think somebody actually posted the KFC spice mix online. So basically get those, fire them into your flour. You want a nice crisp batter, half normal flour, half rice flour, but ordinary flour is absolutely fine. Give them your chicken about a minimum of 8 hours, and your buttermilk. Take it out, wipe the most of it off, and then give it a quick dust in your flour. Stick it into a really hot deep fat fryer. I'm talking about 180, 190. Cook it till it's a lovely golden brown. Do not put too many pieces of chicken in at the one time. Don't crowd the pan. Take it out, put it on some kitchen paper, and put it in the oven while you cook your next batch, and keep them through and safe. And what you want to do is you finish your cooking in the oven, but you have that nice crisp batter with that lovely flavours in your chicken, and perfect for a 16-year-old. I'll just see if Emma's put her crack pipe down and came back into the chat, because I think the next one's for you. There you go, Emma.
Oh, right, okay.
Can you read that?
I am. I'm just going to have to be a bit close on my eyes, so it's not very good.
Barry, the Raging Bull Miller, he struggles with the consistency when making a sponge cake of any kind, even at low temperature on a fan-assisted oven. I still tend to overcook the outside and get the inside perfect. Why might that be?
It could be two things. Your pans might be a bit big, depends on the size of your cake tin. If you're using a really deep cake tin and you're trying to make a Victoria sponge in one tin and then cut it in half afterwards, you're going to struggle a little bit more, because obviously it's going to cook that out, so it's going to take ages to get in the middle. And you might still have the oven a little bit hot. My advice would be, for a Victoria sponge or similar, if you've got two quite shallow, sort of about inch Victoria sponge pans, line them with baking parchment on the inside, and you can go up a little bit further than the height of the tin. So when it rises, it's not all going to spill over the edge. It will be kept in by the baking parchment. Put them into shallower tins and keep your oven at 160, no higher than 160, and be patient with them. They'll take about 20 minutes to 30 minutes, depending on how efficient your oven is and how big your tins are. But it's probably just your oven's a bit hot and your pans are a bit full. The other cheating way you can do it depends what you're going to do with it at the end. If you want to serve it like a Victoria sponge and you want to have that, I can't think of a better word other than like the crust around the outside, so you can see where it's been baked in the tin, you will need to do it in those shallow round Victoria sponge tins. But the other way is to use a flat baking sheet, so like a Swiss roll tin, any baking sheet that you'd normally cook your chips or your pizza or whatever in that goes in the oven. Line that with baking parchment, again, about an inch up the side of the tin. Put your mixture in that, and it'll be much, much flatter, and it will cook so much quicker and so much more evenly. And then when you want to sort of layer it up, you'll have a lot more thin layers. So you could either use the tin and just go around it with a knife, or if you've got, you can get little cake kind of cutting and assembly rings. They're like massive kind of crumpet rings. You can use those to cut them out. That's really good if you don't mind having kind of a naked cake, if you don't mind seeing sort of the actual sponge, or if you're going to put buttercream around it, that makes it easier as well. It will just cook a bit quicker. It'll probably take 10 to 15 minutes rather than 25 to 30.
Fantastic. Hope that helps, Barry.
Happy baking.
Happy baking. Another one for you, Em. Robert McLeish, who was involved in that wrestling nonsense again that me and Mike used to do. Loves the surprise German suplex. Would love to eat Eve's pudding.
been a long time since I've made an Eve's pudding. It was one of my grandma's favourites. She used to make it by stewing up apples and putting them in the bottom of a pudding bowl. So grease like a normal kind of, I would call it a Pyrex mixing bowl, grease a pudding bowl, stew some apples a little bit before. Don't go and go full on mush, or it's just going to disappear to nothing. Put them in the bottom of the pudding bowl, and then just make a normal sponge mixture. When I say normal, I mean half a pound of butter, sugar, flour, 4 eggs, a little bit of milk, vanilla extract if you want. You can put some of the apples into the sponge if you want, or you can just leave them all at the bottom. Put the sponge in on the top of the pudding, put it in an oven at about 160. It will take a little while to cook, similar to the last question. You have to sort of be patient because it will take a while to get to the middle. And then when you're done, you can just upend it and there's the apples. I'm not sure that's technically an Eve's pudding, but that's how my grandma used to make it. And it's just like a nice, appley, spongy thing, ace with custard.
Well, it might not be the official way to make Eve's pudding, but it is now. It's on the internet. It exists. It's now redefined what an Eve's pudding is. We have some troublemaker, some incredibly buff troublemaker there. Want to know, having seen the magic trick that is honeycomb get made, what's your favourite kitchen party trick to impress people? I don't know if I've got any. Given the fact that how I look and the way that I generally conduct myself in the world, to bring out a little dainty black slate with Michelin star food on it and little edible flowers and reductions of this and jellies of that's usually people go, oh, okay, where did that come from? I remember years ago, when we started inviting people over for dinner, I go, "You want to come over and we'll make some food." I don't cook for a living. I just do it because I'm trained. And so obviously driving about in a Harley with a big beard and tattoos, and you go, I'm going over here for a pizza carry out or a doner kebab or something. And when they rock up and they get chicken 3 ways or a confit of salmon, it does tend to throw them off their game a little bit. So that's, I suppose, I know it's not much of a party trick, but you know me, I'm not one for straight answers. Emma, you got any party tricks?
No, not really. I suppose honeycomb, because it is just dead easy, but you put the bicarbonate soda in and everything goes mental, and it's got that lovely, it's like volcanic. But like I said, caramel, if you just, melt sugar and put things in it, it's always amazing what happens. If you're brave enough to try it, find a caramel recipe on the internet and give it a go while we're all stuck at home, because it is amazing what you can make with just sugar, butter and cream.
Cool. Apparently Paul McLaren wants free cake, so that's a hard no.
I'll send some to Pete and I'll let it be his decision.
No, it's still a hard no. Any cake that comes to me will be confiscated. So Barry again. So he finds it difficult to get good flavour in to a 5% mint, even when flooding it with spices. How do you get flavour into a local burger? It all depends on the meat, mate. Gary, when we recorded an episode before people started eating backs, and it's basically my take on some barbecue classics. And I'm not known for making burgers, but I actually made a burger for this episode. I think DA's still on the chat. He'll give you an official word on the chat on the burger. But the way, if I'm going to make burgers, go to your butcher. We've got a fantastic butcher local, Donald's the Butcher down on East Main Street. And instead of just getting their normal mince, which is absolutely fine for mince, treat your burger the way you would treat a steak. So I get a mix of brisket and beef short rib. And what I do is I get the butcher to put the brisket through the mincer and get that as normal mince. And if you take it off the flat of the brisket, it's a fairly low fat cut at that point. You can also leave the piece of meat before he minces it, so you'll get an eye on how much fat's in it. And the short ribs are also a little bit more fat in them, but a lot of that fat will render away. Don't get that minced. Finely chop it with a knife, so you get that meat texture, and you mix the short rib and the brisket minced together, and cook that the same way you would cook a steak. So you get it. You don't have to put loads of spices in there. Salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic if you want. And cook it. Get a nice, use your Maillard reaction, get a nice crust on your burger, top and bottom. Keep it nice and pink in the middle. Because you know where the meats came from, because you know it's fresh, it'll be absolutely delicious. And I think you'll get almost like a roast beef flavour off of the chopped up short rib, and then you get that deep flavour that you get off a slow cooked brisket. And by having your eye on the meat, then Giggly, you actually get to control how much fat goes into it. Or instead of eating 3 or 4 shit burgers with 5% fat, save up all your fat and have it one night and treat yourself to a brisket and short rib burger. I think that mostly answers that. I'm looking for the next question. Oh, Nicola's quite happy about the she's got buttermilk on order. Angela, I've got 2 jars of piccalilli. What do I do? What do you do with piccalilli? Piccalilli, I like piccalilli actually. Piccalilli with corned beef. Piccalilli with corned beef is really nice. Trying to build a dish round about piccalilli, you may have some issues. Put on a toasty as well. Cheese, piccalilli, onion is really nice. Try and go for a creamier, sharper cheese in your toasty. So use maybe like a brie and bacon. You get the salty fattiness from the bacon, and then the luxurious mouthfeel really of the brie. Put that in a toasty, or our American cousins use a kind of the way they make a grilled cheese sandwich. They'll put your toppings in and actually cook it in a pan with a little bit of butter, so you that crispy bread on the outside, just enough heat to melt your filling. But if you get 2 jars of piccalilli, put one in the bin and do something delicious with the other one. Oh, that's a little plug. I was actually plugging Donald's the Butchers. They're on now, and they're apparently going to steal my fried chicken recipe. I do a nice Thai fried chicken, which I'm going to try and get to do at the weekend. So we'll look out for that this weekend. At least I'll give you the principles of how to do it. Scrolling down. Mr. Connell has his own ideas on what to do with the piccalilli. I think we've pretty much mirrored one of those. Keep one of them. You can do something delicious with one of them.
Eat it on a spoon. That's the best thing to do with piccalilli. Just on a spoon.
No, you're wrong there. Because he's not getting any free cake. Hold on, mate. Paul's now wanting a burger. I'm going to make a burger, put it in an envelope, and post it to you. I might just do that out of badness.
Points for trying, though, right?
Well, he has always been very trying. So I think that's us. Our questions are starting to dry up there. Anybody? Any more questions? I thought Mike would have been going nuts at this point asking questions because I remember one of my earliest, not wrestling memories, but one of my fondest non-wrestling memories with Mr. Connell, who is Emma's better half, or Emma's other half, whatever way you want to look at
it. Better is fine.
Was us having a cook-off up in my house one day, which I think was probably about 15 years ago. and that was fun. Oh, we have another question. Angela, I've got 3 jars of cherries and kirsch. Right,
Ooh.
Emma, you take 2 jars, and I'll come back and I'll in with the 3rd jar.
Awesome. Well, I would eat 1 jar just on a spoon because they sound amazing. You can make cherry compote with them. So you could just get some jam sugar or some caster sugar if you haven't got any jam sugar, and boil them up. A little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of brandy if you want. We probably don't need it because they're in kirsch anyway. And just boil them up a little bit until when you put them on a spoon, you've got that little skin on the top, and then you can have them with yogurt or granola or whatever you want, rather than just sort of cherries. Or there is an absolutely excellent recipe for a chocolate and cherry trifle. I think it's in one of the Nigella books, but basically chocolate sponge, cherries in the bottom, chocolate custard, cream on the top, cherries on the top, grated up flake or chocolate or whatever. That's a favourite. Cherries and kirsch is a must for that.
That actually sounds quite nice.
It's lovely.
Okay, cherries and kirsch. So get yourself some duck legs, or get yourself a whole duck. Take the crown off it, and roast the breast separately. Take your legs, joint your legs into the thighs and the legs. Put them in a nice big pan with a basic mirepoix vegetables, carrots, onions. Maybe put some fennel in instead of leek. Put your cherries and kirsch in there. Put it in the oven. Brown the legs off. Put all your vegetables in. Put your cherries and kirsch in. A little bit of star anise. A little bit of red chili, not too hot. Put a lid on it. Roast it in the oven for maybe 3.5 hours, basically until the meat starts to fall off the bone. Take it out of the oven. Take the duck legs out. Shred the meat. Keep your vegetables and your cherries still on the heat. Reduce down your liquid till it gets nice and sticky. Boil up some gnocchi or some nice new potatoes. Mix that through with your sauce. Put your meat back in. So you've basically made a cherry and duck meat ragu. Put that on the base of your plate. Take one of your roasted duck breasts, slice it, and put it on top. And then you'll have your nice roasted duck. And then underneath it, you'll have the rich cherries, slightly aniseed flavour coming from the anise and the fennel, some nice new potatoes, and a nice sticky sauce to dip everything in.
I've thought of something else for your cherries and kirsch, Ange. If you could make like a frangipane, and the general kind of recipe would be 225 grams of caster sugar, 6 eggs, 225 grams of ground almonds. Just whip it all up in a food processor, and you've got frangipane. And you could either cook it in a long tray and put the cherries in the top, or you could make a pastry base and turn some of the cherries into jam. If you do 50-50 cherries to jam sugar, you'll get like a nice sticky jam. And then you could put the frangipane on the top and then put some of the cherries in the top of that. So you've got like a tart rather than just a frangipane with cherries in. Nice with custard, I think. It's just been
pointed out that the lady with the cherries may be a vegetarian.
She is a vegetarian. But I think possibly with a meat eater in the house.
Okay.
At least one, if not two.
Take 2. Take your cherries, drain them out the kirsch, chop them up, get yourself cannoli beans, some tomatoes. Again, all those same flavour notes. Fennel, star anise, onions. Boil it away for a while so that you basically you're making a casserole. Char grills some halloumi, maybe roast some aubergine, cut it into chunks, and just add that. Don't cook it in the casserole, but stir it through towards the end, and then serve it with some couscous or some rice or some nice pita breads.
Sounds nice.
Okay. Okay, we've covered the vegetarian thing. And she can make the duck one for you. So like Shalfoos.
Yes, like Clafouti.
Okay. Cool. So that's
Is that supposed to say Clafouti or whatever Shalfoos?
I don't know. It's a new one on me, so I'm assuming it's not salty. So it's over to you for the pronunciation on that. No, nobody knows. Right, guys. I think we've been going about 30 minutes. I think we've came to a natural end to this, unless anybody's got any more. Oh, we have a last minute. Can you do a fennel recipe? Oh, see, the thing is, I can do lots of things with fennel. I just can't eat them because I don't like it. I don't like aniseed. I know I put star anise in things, and I make a quick one. Instead of doing a slaw with it, get yourself either Japanese pear or not quite ripe pear. Shave the pear using a potato peeler so you get nice thin ribbons. Thinly slice your fennel. Put some walnut, some apple in there, a little bit of mirin, and some sriracha powder, and it gives you a nice fennel and walnut and pear salad. Well, there's a little kick of heat in it from the sriracha powder. You can use chili flakes as well, or put a little bit of fresh chili in it, some coriander, a little bit of lime juice, and that's a nice alternative to the slaw without going into a full 1001 things to do with fennel. Oh, I thought we were rolling to an end here, but we've had a flurry of activity. Recommend my friend Jack Buckingham a quick and easy dish. 2 slices of bread, butter each side, slice of cheese, put the first slice on top of the second slice, cheese sandwich. We're gonna have to have a little bit more, little bit more of a steer on what Jack likes or Jack's level of cooking, before we can advise a nice. Because what I think is easy might not be, or what I think's easy might be too hard. So a little bit more details on Jack's culinary capabilities. I don't know whether that was for the cheese sandwich recipe or the fennel salad. He's an amateur chef, quite the specialist at vegan. Oh, see, vegan takes a lot of tools out your toolbox. Generally, with any dish or with any form of cooking, you're looking to have sweet, salty, sour, umami, which apparently is a thing now, which you get that from like fish sauce or what's that stuff Australians eat, which is horrible. Vegemite. There's a British version of Vegemite. You get it on Twiglet. I don't like it, so I've chemically erased it from my mind. And it's just about finding balance. We done one of the first cook-alongs we done was a soba, which you can change in and out. We done a duck soba, but you can do it with a variety of different proteins and starches. But it looks really nice on the plate. It's quite easy to make, and depending on your skill level, you can put whatever you want in it. You make your base broth, cook your noodles in it. You can use soba noodles, which are wheat. But that's ticking a vegan box, I believe. Use the miso, which comes from soybean. And then lots of different stuff in there. Have a look at your Asian supermarket. if they open again, get yourself some nice mushrooms, some enoki mushrooms, and some nice flavour, some greens in there as well, some pak choi, rainbow shard, that kind of stuff. That's quite vegan-y.
I've got a good vegan chocolate cake recipe if you want it. That might be good if he's a budding chef, because you can make it warm like a pudding.
Oh, I'm interested at this. Tracy's ears have just pricked.
Okay, so it's a good fail-safe one bowl. I love a one bowl recipe. 200 grams of plain flour, 200 grams of caster sugar, 8 tablespoons of cocoa powder, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, a teaspoon of distilled vinegar. You could probably use normal malt vinegar. I don't think it would make a lot of difference. And 5 tablespoons of vegetable oil, all in one bowl. Add 250 mils of water, mix it all together, put it in a loaf tin or a brownie shaped tin or a round Victoria sponge type tin, whatever tin you've got. 180 degrees C, about 30 minutes in the oven. It's ace. And if you just put chocolatey kind of icing on it, or just chopped up vegan chocolate, you can put vegan chocolate in it. It's great. No eggs, no dairy. Half an hour and you've got a cake.
Can you put thinly sliced lamb on top of it?
Oh, you could give it a go. I think it might change the vegan status, but I'm sure it'd be delicious, especially with the kirsch, cherries and kirsch.
Yes, I'm not vegan. No, okay. Okay, I think we are probably ready to start winding things up. I do have to I have to do this. So, for those of you who are not familiar with Pirate King TV, we do a live cook-along during our lockdown fun. Every Saturday, we post the ingredients on a Wednesday. So there's a fresh set of ingredients. I've just went on the Pirate King TV Facebook page. If you would like to join us on Saturday, we'd love to bring you into the family, show you how to make some yummy food. If you can get the ingredients, if a few of the more unusual ingredients or the harder to come ones, I try and put alternatives in there because I know shopping's difficult right now. The cook-along takes between half an hour and an hour, depending on what we're making. We made a couple of dishes last week and it took about an hour. I was dressed up as Jesus. Don't expect that every week. But yeah, it's a bit of fun and something to do while we're all locked in the house. So all the details for that are scrolling along the bottom. I do have to obliged to mention our sponsors. We forgot to do the sponsor. Yes, so Pirate King TV is sponsored by wine. I'm going to keep doing that until somebody sends me wine or I get a real sponsor. So I think that's us for tonight. Thank you so very much to Emma for joining us.
Yes.
Emma's frozen.
Thanks for having me. Watch Pirate King TV. It's 8.
We hopefully, if Emma's up for doing it, we'll do another one of these in a couple of weeks. She's not said no, so I'm taking that as a yes.
Sorry, I can't hear you very well, Pete. If it was a yeah, do I want to do another one? Yeah, and I'll try and have better answers.
Cool. So we'll maybe get Emma back in 2 weeks. Next week, I have got Kevin McMillan, who is a incredibly talented and within the local area well-known butcher. So if anybody's got any meaty questions, sorry, not a very vegan-centric episode next week. Yeah, so we've got Kevin on next week. We'll do the same sort of thing. If you want to know the difference between a ribeye and a sirloin, or how to cook a leg of lamb as opposed to a shoulder of lamb, and what the difference between a pork butt and pork shoulder is. Those are probably the questions to do. So hopefully we'll see some of you back next week, and then we'll get Emma back for some more cakey goodness. So thank you all for joining us tonight. I hope this has been entertaining or educational or something to do before you go to bed. Either way. For those of you who want to know, a couple of quick plugs. There is a quiz on Isolation Station Entertainment tonight. So all of those involved in that, best of luck. I won't be joining that tonight because we have some other silliness to get involved on. But stay safe, stay in your house. If you have to go out, stay 2 meters away. Follow the rules, people. The more we follow the rules, the quicker there will be no more rules. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully see you all Saturday. Bye-bye.
Bye.